Thank you for making it on Monday night and making it to learn how to improve on your public speaking. But before we get started with our meeting, would anyone like to volunteer and read our mission statement, which you can find in the bottom left corner of our agenda?
I do.
Yes.
We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth.
Thank you. And with that, I will introduce to the stage Zach.
Great day for Toastmasters, like every Monday, except for it's a Monday. But I really like that everyone appeared for the meeting. We have a full agenda now. Just to let you know, we love clapping after everything. That's why we clapped after you. That's why they clapped me up on stage. So, you know, we want to build a supportive learning environment, like it says in the mission statement. And hopefully you're not afraid of the stage. There might be opportunities for you to come up, and also we'll ask you to introduce yourself at the end of the meeting. So, with that said, the meeting is going to be great. We have two speakers today, Tricia and FR, but to call them up, I'll call up our Toastmaster of the day, Sarena.
Thank you, Zach. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Today is 11/11, which means we will have an auspicious meeting today. So, first of all, I would like to introduce you guys to a few special guests at our meeting today who will be doing our reports, which are pretty important to us, and they will be recorded at the end of the meeting. So the first report I would like to introduce themselves and to explain a little bit about the role is Carlos or Demirian.
Hi, I'm Demirian today for the meeting. I will be making sure the sentence structure is airy and creative and you don't use the same repetitive sentences, any words that you should be using, the words that you can maybe replace, tenses, just everything to do with grammar on the guide.
Awesome, thank you, Carlos. Alright, next is Drew, our all counter.
Thank you. I'm Drew, the all counter. I will be noting words like so, but, and any filler, gaps, and pauses that you use as a crutch rather than just speaking. And at the end of the meeting, I will go over each of those for everyone that is spoken.
Our last important role throughout the meeting is our timer, Brian.
My name is Brian, and I will be your timer today. I will give you clues and try to verify that your speech is on time.
Make sure you feel great. Alright, so without further ado, I'll introduce our very first speaker of today. It'll be Tricia speaking for 5 to 7 minutes about leadership. Please give her a little water.
Thank you, Sarena. Thank you, everyone, for welcoming me to the stage. So the title of my speech is Leadership, which sounds very similar to the word leadership, which it is because it's an institute that really encourages its members and its attendees to grow in their leadership with a vision and forming those relationships to enact upon that vision and leading with integrity. And just a side note, if you're looking for an experiential learning credit here at UGA, it's a great way to fulfill that requirement. It's a 6-day intensive where you really sit down and think, okay, what is my angle? What do I want to see in the world? How do I want to achieve that? Let's learn more about who I am, because before I can make that change that seems so big in the future, I have to know who I am, where I am, how I interact with others. And so when I say the word leadership, what are some things or some traits that come to mind? And anyone can just go ahead and shout them out.
Motivation.
Motivation, yes.
Confidence.
Confidence.
Speaking.
Speaking.
Leadership.
Leadership. I mean, it's the word itself, but
Nice, man.
yes, thank you. So leadership, we hear a lot of traits, and there's a lot of definitions for it. Even just going to the definition that leadership sets for its attendees, it's developing that vision. And for me, personally, I really like that definition. Maybe not all aspects, just because the word vision is kind of frightening at times. I'm like, whoa, what's my vision? What is that big end goal? but it's still good to keep in mind and beginning with that end in mind when you're starting something. So one of the activities I just want to talk about that took place during leadership was this sort of personality test, but geared towards how your leadership style affects you and as well affects you and the people around you. And so they call this the DISC dimensions of behavior, where D stands for dominance, I for influence, S for steadiness, and C for conscientious. Long word. But yes, that's the DISC method. And essentially what you do is you say yes, no, through various statements, and in the end you sort of graph that along the way. And what ended up happening for me was, in terms of the dominance and influence and the more assertive side, I scored on the lower end, but I scored really high on the steadiness and conscientious, which doesn't surprise me. Just as a person, I really like listening to what other people have to say, rather than trying to make my voice be the #1 voice heard all the time. I also like having that steady and reliable environment where I know what's expected of me, I know what's, not necessarily what's going to happen, but at least there's that idea where I'm not jumping into the unknown. And an example of this was when I led a youth group camp, and we had an expected amount of 30 participants, which was the highest number that we had ever received for a camp like that. And with that many participants requires a lot of preparation. And so creating those to-do lists and checking in with people and delegating roles to people, even though as the team leader I read all the rules and I wanted things to happen in a specific way, I really grew from that experience, learning how to delegate roles. Because I can't do it on my own. It's too much like me, myself, trying to take care of 30 individual people on top of the people who are already agreeing to volunteer. And so that's one of the challenges with that leadership type, learning how to be comfortable with change, because you can do all the planning that you like in the world, every single minute detail, but when it comes to the day of the event, or to the day of where you're taking into action what you've put into plan, not everything is going to go exactly your way. And that's one of my weaknesses that I'm striving to learn from, striving to grow from, and trying to put myself in those opportunities to grow in that kind of environment. Another weakness that I have, just as someone who's more quiet, I suppose, perceived as quiet, I still have those ideas, but it's making those ideas known and putting that voice out when I am in that position of leadership, or where there's people like looking up to me. And one way I've really tried to combat this, or really go around this, is it's important. Like, I realize that it's important to have those relational aspects with people and getting to know people one-on-one. It doesn't have to be like, oh, hey, how are you? Like, I want to learn all about your life story. No, for me, I find it's really helpful in those small moments when there's that lull in a group conversation, and I say, hey, how's your day? How's your week been? And kind of keeping that in the back of my mind, so that the next time I see that person, I can build upon what I've already learned about them. And when it comes time to, say, bring everyone together in that project, I have an idea of who they are and what kind of approach works best. And so even though I may be perceived as a quiet person, I feel that having those characteristics of steadiness and being calm in a very high-pressure environment is a very auspicious trait to have as someone who is trying to navigate the world and being a leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. So this is a time where you get to put your pen to paper and write down some feedback for Tricia. So next to you, you have a ballot, and under the first speaker, please write down some constructive criticism you have for Tricia, as well as some pass them down into the little ballot boxes right here, and then our surgeon at arms, which is also Tricia, will be collecting those at the end for just to give feedback back to the original speaker. And Tricia, I also had the pleasure of attending Leadership. That was a really fun program put on by UGA. So if you guys are looking to increase your leadership capabilities and meet a bunch of cool people, which is honestly the biggest benefit of this program, it is a 6-day program camp that is right after school starts in the spring, so you don't have to worry about summer vacation plans hindering it or anything like that. But it's really great. It's held by the Center of Leadership and Service, I believe, at UGA. So check that out. I scored very high in the S and the C as well on the DISC personality test. All right, so next we have FR speaking for 6 to 8 minutes on the number 21.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters. Today I'm going to talk about the number 21 and why it's special. And a lot of people may think it's special because, well, when we're in college town, you know, it's the age you turn 21, you can legally drink alcohol now. But that's not the special thing about it. It's really special because of how you can build habits in the 21-day rule with habits. Now, I know a lot of us, we have goals, we have aspirations, we want to get something done, but when we try to do all these things, what our biggest problem is, we don't have a plan. And Winston Churchill once said, a goal without a plan is merely a wish. And you may wonder what this means. It means if you don't have something, a concrete plan to follow something through with, no matter how awesome your dream is, no matter how good it may be, it won't come into reality. And with these goals have to happen within a certain time frame. When we start our goals, we can't expect ourselves to do everything all at once. We have to take these step by step, step by step. And just for a show of hands, how many people have had a goal? And how many of you have seen that goal always become a reality? Ah, okay, that's perfect. I was expecting everybody to answer that. But the reason is, it's not because we don't have the commitment. It's because our habits haven't been built in yet. We haven't exposed ourselves to enough of a routine habit in that fact that we can't allow what we want to become a reality into a reality. It's just, yeah, we haven't made it a routine in ourselves. And I'm going to show you how the number 21 affects us and how 21 days can be the difference between you building a brand new habit. Say you want to become a star student, A+ student, or a billionaire. What you need to do in those first 21 days to make that a reality. If you look at this graph, all this stuff in the beginning is irrelevant actually. The only one you need to see is number 21. So that is a retention of when you have a, say, a goal or any like habit you want to actually make a reality. And after doing it for 21 days, and the reason I don't have it further after 21 days is because 21 days is the minimum. If you do it for more than that time, it's almost guaranteed you're going to ingrain that habit in yourself. But 21 days, that's a spike in retention of learning. This is the part when you can take a break after you've done this habit for 20 days consistently, and even if you take a break, your body will be used to it. The way your mind works is just muscle memory, so you do something over and over again, over and over again. After you've done it enough times, it just becomes natural. But 21 days, so if you do it for say 20 days, 19 days, it doesn't, your body for some reason just doesn't accept that. It has to be at least 21 days or 3 weeks for that to become ingrained in yourself. And I want to give you numbers to prove this, because I'm not just making this up. 67%, 5,300, Aiken, 21, 21.0, and now I just gave the numbers without any words, but I'll explain to you. So 67%, that's the average increase in retention rate. How much more you've learned from just doing this for this activity, any activity. I'll give you an example. Say you want to lose 50 pounds. Your activity would be go to the gym. If you do it for 10 days, 15 days, the retention of going back to it after you take a break is around 5 to 10%. But the increase in that after you do it for 21 days, you can just go to the gym. Just go to the gym and not necessarily do anything. But after you've gone there for all those 21 days, say you take a break and you come back, that retention increases 67%. 5,300. Now you're wondering, that's a big number. What could it be? It's the number of participants done in 8 studies And some of these vary from Harvard, Duke, and I believe Princeton as well. But they did the studies, and that's a huge amount of people. So the research just proves it's statistically significant. Also, the number 21. I specifically wrote it down twice, 21.00, because if it's anything less than that, it doesn't become a habit. You can say 20 days and a half. You'd expect that to be enough, but the way your biological functions work, the nervous system and the synapses don't form completely until that time. And anything after 21, that's great. Once you've hit that benchmark, you're good. And I'm going to show you guys a couple of pictures. This guy looks very successful. You know why you can tell he's successful? It's because the word success is over there also. But he's actually successful for two reasons. He is committed to his goal of losing weight. He's running every day for at least, and he committed by doing this for 21 days. He made sure he would do this every day. And we're going back to the example of losing weight. The guy who goes to the gym every day. It could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but as long as he builds that habit of just going there routinely. And in the main first days, you don't want to ever make a gap. You always want to go consistently. If you make that one gap, you'll demotivate yourself. So this guy, he's successful. Why? Because he's continuously doing it, and he's going down the road of success. And there's another person now, and he's climbing. And you know why he's going to make it to the top of the mountain? It's because he's persevering. This is the biggest thing with habits. A lot of times we get demotivated. We're going for like a long time. Say halfway, we meet with struggle. And a lot of times the struggle turns out to be too much for us. So persevering through that struggle is what will allow us to make that habit a part of our life, a regular day. And do you know who Dr. Alfred Golich is? I'm assuming you all don't, because I didn't either. But he's a sociologist who studied this behavioral sciences, that just why people learn after a certain amount of days, how much interaction, and he came up with two theories. The first theory is if you do a habit approximately 3 times a day, or just if you bring it up in your mind 3 times a day, for a span of 21 days, that habit will just become more natural. Your body will recall it instantly. But that's just extra, and don't read all this, it's too much. I know you guys don't want to read words, but I'll give it to you. When you first start a habit, you want to give a goal. First step, take it one at a time. If you want to lose weight again, you go to the gym. You won't go to the gym and start doing weightlifting, cardio, and you won't do all that at the same time. You may try to, and you end up overexhausting yourself. Second step, be extremely consistent and track your progress. I'm combining the first two. When you go to a gym, every day just remind yourself you went there, and you can write it down on a phone app, a journal, any of that. But in the first few days, be consistent. If you have an excuse, no matter what it is, leave that to the side and still go there. 5 minutes is fine, 10 minutes, any of that. Now, when you don't see any results, this is the biggest thing. A lot of people, they don't notice results immediately. Because a lot of people, when they say working out or anything to lose weight, they want to see results faster. That doesn't always happen. And when that's happening, continue, persevere. That goes back to the picture of the mountain climber. He's persevering. That's what's going to get to the top. Keep motivational reminders. This human psychology. We work best when we're given rewards. So negative feedback, that doesn't help. So if you just constantly motivate yourself, just quick jots like on your hand or something, you did good, or good job, stuff like that, that'll just keep you constantly motivated, will spike up your dopamine levels, and then always keep the end goal in mind. So if your end goal is to lose 50 pounds, look better, always think of what the end goal is going to be when you get there. And last step, this is the most important, because a lot of us, we try to just, when we're doing goals, all that, we start at any time when we just feel comfortable, but you want to start a goal when you have a proper plan and you don't have any outside factors impacting. Say you have a test coming up, your major exam, say you're going to law school, you have the bar exam. If you decide you want to lose 50 pounds, say the week of or the week before, you will have so many other things on your mind that you won't be able to properly focus on what your actual goal is. So whenever you have a habit or a goal you want to make a routine in your life, do it at a time when you have more leisure, when you're not fully stressed out or anything in any event planned. And with that, remember the rule of 21, whatever you have to do, at least do it for 21 days, and your future will be very auspicious.
Thank you, Mark. So at this time, do the exact same thing as the first speech. Write down some constructive criticism you have and some strengths that you see in FR speech as well. I really like that FR gave this speech because, you know, even though New Year's is coming up and people are going to be making their New Year's resolutions, who said you can't make 2019 your year? You got 2 months left. You can do it. All right, I know Brian, we're both of our speakers in time.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So when you're done writing the evaluation for FR, go ahead and look at the bottom of your ballot and write down who you believe was the best speaker for today.
Oh wait, well I have to make one announcement. The guy, Alfred Gullick, he's actually made up. I just found a random picture of a guy because I couldn't find his actual face. He's an actual guy. I couldn't find his actual face, so like, don't go to like that picture and assume that's actual. That's him. That was a random guy. I couldn't find the actual person.
He's an actual sociologist.
Yes, but not the picture of that guy. I don't know about that guy. Just if you guys are interested in like the actual data behind it. Everything else is accurate.
We hadn't voted for the person.
I'm kind of curious who that guy actually was then.
I'm not sure.
Did he just look up sociologist or something?
Social sociologist. No, social scientist. It's because I couldn't find the guy. Freaking is like dead now. You can't find any of his works.
Alright, so our next section of the meeting is table topics, which I will have Nate explain because he's a table topics master here today. Welcome up.
So, table topics, for those that don't know, it's for those that don't know table topics, you get assigned a topic. I gave you a topic, and you make a quick 1 to 2 minute speech about it. Keep us entertained, make it funny if you want, but just keep rambling on. Get to that 1 to 2 minute mark. It's impromptu. So this weekend, I watched a movie. That movie was The Matrix, and I was inspired by this, famous red pill, blue pill scene with Morpheus, where he's given the choice to either stay asleep forever, never knowing the truth, or take the red pill and discover the Matrix and be enlightened. So, with that said, I have a bunch of would you rathers. Let me not reveal that right now. I have a bunch of would you rathers planned for us, and with the would you rather too, with the good one especially. I kind of would like some audience feedback too. If somebody's having a rough time thinking of stuff, maybe needs a bit of input from the audience, don't be afraid to call out because that makes the would you rathers much better. So with that said, first volunteer. FR. You don't get to pay.
What do you mean by that? Okay.
Would you rather be?
Wait, how's the red pill and the blue pill?
There's no either or.
It's just framing the would you rather.
Would I rather be a billionaire but have 50 hours a week, or a millionaire and have all 50 in the world? Okay, this is actually a pretty easy answer. I would definitely go with a billionaire for 2 reasons. And you'd think, oh, this guy's probably just going after all the money. It's because money has a value. But I've always wanted to be the governor of Georgia. If you guys don't know this, please vote for me in the year 2040. Just a quick reminder, but my goal is to become a billionaire by the time I become governor for 2 reasons. With the money I accumulate, I can actually donate and build roads, hospitals, and all that stuff, and it's all be free for people who are in need. But if I was a millionaire, I wouldn't have that option, because with $1 million, the smallest thing you could probably do is get 2 roads paved. But if I'm a billionaire, not only will I have all the access to funds, and sure I have to put a lot of work into it, but with those funds I can create the healthcare systems I want to, and I won't charge anybody because it's all my money, And at a certain point, when you have so much money, money has no value, The only joy you get is giving away money, and work is just a given, because just doing no work, this is the other reason actually, doing no work for me would be, how do I say it, would be boring. Because a lot of people, they can just enjoy doing nothing, but if I don't have something to do, it just doesn't feel right. So I would definitely choose $1 billion plus a billionaire. So I'll probably be the billionaire among billionaires, is the richest billionaire, except a trillionaire. But I would definitely put all the work in, and I'll choose that. I lock in my answer. It's like a game show if you lock it in.
You can lock it in if you want.
I lock it in.
Okay, as I'm doing this, Joe will be writing down names, and at the end we vote on who's the best table comics speaker. With that said, another volunteer. What's your name in the back? Horace? Did you say that again? Horace? Horace.
Like the
Come
Greek
on.
god of eagles.
Horace, I'm going to read you out your question. Would you rather be forced to dance every time you heard music, or be forced to sing along to any song you heard?
Alright, this is tough because I suck at both. You know, so I'm gonna have to think like on the spot. If I were to be able to choose between dancing every time I heard music, or forced to sing along to any song I've heard. So, fortunately for me, there are things called earplugs out there. So I guess if I could, you know, kind of find a loophole around the system and be able to just block out every time I'm about to hear music, so no one has to see my horrendous dancing. I'd probably have to, you know, go with the second answer here, right? Granted that that loophole is an actual thing. I would say if I were to be able to choose the second option, I could definitely save myself from dying of embarrassment every time I have to dance in front of everybody, every time I have to dance when I hear music. And I would say I'll lock in that answer. I'll lock, and yeah, that's it.
I'd also sing every time. I'm not a very good dancer. Another volunteer. By the way, these get kind of like more embarrassing as they go along. So if you want to go earlier, then like. That's your prerogative.
Alright, I'll take the next one.
True.
It's gonna get harder and harder to answer, so.
Would you rather be able to run everywhere but never feel fatigued, or be able to teleport anywhere instantly but feel just as fatigued as if you ran the same distance? You can become a track star too. That's another aspect of this question.
Would you rather be able to run everywhere? So this means that I'm essentially perpetually young. I'm not able to like grow old and
You're just a
have
great
knee
runner.
problems.
You can run anywhere and never get fatigued. Or you get to teleport anywhere but feel fatigued when you get there. Just as fatigued as if you ran.
And this means that I'd be like this my entire life, right?
Yes, your entire life.
Okay, so I would definitely want to be able to run everywhere and never feel fatigued for the obvious reason I'd be able to maintain my physique and be nice and healthy as opposed to just teleporting somewhere and just feeling like I'm a lazy person. Like, I just turn off my brain, I'm like, okay, I don't want to run today, so I'm just going to teleport somewhere, and then pretty much I'll just have that in the back of my mind when I'm doing certain tasks. I'll be like, oh, I can teleport out of things, and I don't have to judge for time. I don't have to think like a real person and schedule my time out. So there is a trade-off, but I definitely feel like I would choose the ability to run because I think that being healthier is obviously more important than just teleporting everywhere, and I think it would help me improve my attitude, my work ethic, and be able to have a positive attitude about just fitness in general. So, final answer. I'm going next.
I like your confidence.
Drew, my bad. All right, Drew. Would you rather get $1 million right now or $1,000 a day until you say the word nurse?
$1,000 a day until I say that word. Which I will not say
Well done.
because I would like $1,000 a day. The biggest problem with not saying that word is that it's a big thing on social media and TikTok to do that, and all of my friends say it right now. So they think it a little weird that I'm suddenly really loaded and never saying that word. So I'm not sure how I'd explain that, because if I told them, they'd definitely be trying to get me out of my $1,000 a day. And the only way I could get them to stop trying to get me out of it is by giving them some of the money, and then I just wouldn't have any money. So it'd be difficult, but definitely I'd like $1,000 a day, because that would eventually get me more. It would only take 100 days.
$1,000.
That's also the wrong
Finance.
million. Too few zeros.
I lock in my answer, 1,000 a day.
That's a good answer then. Well, more volunteers. Zach, question. All right.
To invest it correctly.
Yeah.
Would you rather give up bathing for a month or give up the internet for a month? That includes all social media, all forums, nothing. No judgments from this answer too, because I know what I would pick.
There's a lot of stereotypes that are going into this. Never mind. So, would I rather give up bathing for a month? Would anyone notice? Yeah, like, for a month, yes. Or give up the internet for a month. You know, I've always wanted to go to Tibet and become a monk and, you know, live. No, I haven't. But could I do it? You know, I would definitely rather give up the internet for a month. I know that's definitely not the popular opinion, because, especially in my major, which is management information systems, so literally I'm just giving up my career for a month. But the thing is, other people will notice after 2 days of bathing. You will not be able to function after about 2 weeks, because it's just like every single motion is just sweat and dirt and all that stuff. I don't even want to think about it. But internet for a month, I can just take a plane to India, visit family, and just have a great time absorbing the culture and say it's an internet fast, like a lot of millennials do on social media. Posting, I'm taking a break from social media, take a bunch of pictures on my camera, and then get so Instagram famous once I get back. So, if I want to choose between the two, I would definitely choose internet for a month. Thank you.
You have a much stronger constitution than me. Carlos?
I also have a question. I'll go next, but is showering the same thing as bathing?
Yes.
You could go swimming instead, you know.
I would
Get the loophole.
consider all forms of bathing, so like deodorant too, and spray on stuff too.
That's when you go swimming. It's a loophole.
Swimming, that's bathing.
That's not bathing, it's swimming.
Right. Number 6. Would you rather never be able to wear pants or never be able to wear shorts?
Shorts.
So recently, my aunt came from Mexico, and it was over the summer, and she was not very happy in the way I dressed. I went through a whole phase where I would only wear like black like band t-shirts, like Pink Floyd or Guns N' Roses. I would wear jeans, and she said that I looked sloppy. So she introduced me to what I'm wearing right now, which are chinos, and I have fallen in love with chinos. These things are the most comfortable things I've ever worn in my life, and I don't know how it works and what the science behind chinos are, but you know how when you wear jeans during the summer, you start feeling like really like sweaty and sticky in places where you not want to be sweaty and sticky. Chinos somehow have developed like ventilation systems where you can wear these in close to 100-degree weather and you still don't feel any heat whatsoever. So I would definitely give up wearing shorts because I feel like chinos come as pants. And I can wear these at any time, any point, any time. I'd say objectively, they look pretty good too. You can wear them with anything. I've worn these to fancy events. I've worn them to what I'm wearing right now, which was something I threw on at the last minute because I was late to this. So I would definitely choose giving up shorts instead of wearing pants, instead of giving up pants.
That's a weird question. You had a specific, like, really good answer to that too. Like, some people just be like, I don't know, shorts. Volunteers. Would you rather live life at 0.5 speed or 2 times speed?
Definitely 2 times the speed. Why? Because I do a lot of embarrassing things throughout my day, and I'd rather get that over with twice as fast rather than 0.5, half as slow. So, plus, think about money-wise. So the faster the money, wait, actually never mind. Okay. Another reason why I love twice as fast, I lose focus a lot. So like when I sit around for a long time, I get easily distracted and then I zone out and fall asleep. So I prefer everything goes twice as fast, because if the person speaks twice as fast, then the faster they talk, then the faster it's over. So once I finish that, it's over. Exactly. See? Exactly. So another reason why I choose twice as fast is because I think it's be more fun. Everything in life speeds up, and you just get to watch it happen rather than slow motion. Yes, I mean. Oh, and excellent point. I get to fight faster. I get to punch someone else twice as. This is me, right? Like I get to see twice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I definitely. If I can punch someone twice as fast, I will take that option. You know, as being a sharp person, if I can beat them and run away twice as fast as well, that works out in my favor. So, definitely a light twice as fast.
I didn't even think of the fighting aspect of that until FR gave you the big.
I was wondering what you were
kidding.
But then the kisses are over twice as fast.
That's soft. That's soft. More volunteers. Oh my god.
All right.
Ryan. You got this, man. Would you rather eat a burning hot slice of pizza or 3 peanut butter sandwiches in a row? In both cases, you have no water or milk to have it.
So, I really like pizza. I like it more than a PB&J. So, I would rather eat the pizza. Especially if I got to pick the slice of pizza that I get to eat. So, do I get to pick the slice?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So.
It's still burning hot though.
Yes, very hot. So, the pizza slice I would love to pick is mellow mushroom. I love their like meaty pizza. I think they make the best pizza in the world. And even though it was burning my tongue, I would totally enjoy eating that pizza for every second. Peanut butter sandwiches are okay, but I don't even think they're filling at all. I don't think it's even a meal. I think it's more like a snack, like a cookie or something. But the pizza, even though it's burning, I think would be the best option out of both of these two. That's my answer.
I think there's only 2 people left. Tricia and Sarena.
It's too late. Just go for your down.
You already popped out. Would you rather have a 5-minute conversation with yourself from 5 years ago, or a conversation with yourself from 5 years in the future? This is a deep question.
Okay, so this past weekend, I went, as I mentioned in my speech, I went to, and I was volunteered at a youth group camp that was happening for church ministry back home. And what was really full circle about this camp was I led this exact same camp 4 years ago, close to 5 years, but having that full circle kind of, and then coming back again 4 years ago. And I was really struggling, even though I was still giving the same speech with the same outline. I've definitely had grown since then. And some of the things that I learned just personally, growing in my faith, maybe I would have liked to learn about this sooner, just because the timing of things is like, why does it happen this, then there? I feel like that'd be really insightful for my younger self, as I also feel like when you're younger, that's the time where it's more easier to enact change within yourself, So I would choose that going over 5 years in the future. Yes, it would be interesting to find out where I'd be 5 years in the future, but at the same time, I feel like that would, when I would go back to the present, that would influence my choices, and I might not even end up in that same place where I talk to myself in the future. So going back in the past.
Last one. Would you rather be limited to 3 hours of sleep every day, or have to sleep 15 hours every day? You have to sleep those 15 hours. So like, gun to your head, you have to sleep.
Alright, well, I guess I'll go 3 hours of sleep because that's closer to what I get to sleep anyways. So unfortunately, being in college, you only have 24 hours in a day and you have 24,000 things to do. So you only have, well, you're supposed to get 8 hours of sleep, but I only get like 5 to 7 hours of sleep on a good day. So that would be my answer. I don't find this question interesting.
Do you want another question? I have some more juicy videos.
Oh, sure.
Ooh, wait, what?
I like this one. This is more interesting. Would you rather speak and understand all human languages or speak and understand all animal languages?
Definitely animal.
I disagree with that far. I would say human.
Oh.
Because, after all, I'm a human. And I think it'd be really sad if I were a human who could talk to animals. But if I were a human, I can't talk to people of my own species, So if I were able to speak with all humans, that would be amazing. In fact, I went to Hong Kong this past summer for an internship, and I realized that people across the world are so much more fluent in other languages than we are. Because English is the #1 spoken language in the world, but we're so bad at learning other languages. Whereas other people, they send their kids to America to learn English. They raise them up speaking other languages. You have a lot of households that can speak 3 languages or more. They send them to daycares to learn Spanish, whatever. But there's a lot of advantages of being able to speak with other humans. Just because, it really sucks being in a culture where there's a culture shock and you can't understand what other people are saying, because ultimately you are a human and you feel really left out if you can't speak their language as well. So being able to connect with other humans is really important to me, so I think that would be absolutely amazing.
Alright, so that's it for the Would You Rathers. Vote on your favorite. I'm going to recap them real quick. FR, he wanted to be a billionaire governor instead of a millionaire. Time, yeah. Timekeeper, Brian.
Yes.
Everyone's on time? Beautiful. Horace, he wanted to sing instead of dance. Scott wanted to run everywhere because of his physique. Drew would rather take the 1,000 a day instead of a million. Zach would not give up the internet. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I would give up the internet opposed to not taking a shower.
Yeah. He would go. Carlos would wear chinos instead of shorts. Aiken would take like 2 times the speed of some people. Brian would eat beloved pizza from Mushroom. Tricia would go back to talk to herself from 5 years ago. And Sarena would like to speak to all humans because she doesn't like dogs. Or cats.
You need too many 21 days for that.
So, with that all done, I'm just going to hand this back to the Toastmaster, Sarena.
Awesome job, Nate. Okay, so seeing that we have all our votes in, we will move on to the next section of our meeting, which is our evaluation portion. So that will be led by Zach, who is a general evaluator for today.
Just like I've said in multiple meetings, whenever I have this role, I always love to say that this is my favorite part of the meeting. This is where we turn bad speakers into good speakers into good performers, performers into people that can really take control of both the stage, their bodies, their voice, the audience, every single aspect of what makes a good speaker. You see, speaking isn't only about what you say, it's how you say it. It's what you use to bring across your point. And the way we start that is knowing our strengths, knowing our weaknesses, and growing from that. And we can't just do that by getting up here and failing constantly, even though, it's pretty easy to do that. But actually taking the evaluations of people that have a little bit more experience than you, or have a new interesting take, on your speech to take that information, grow from it, and become a more varied and overall good speaker. So with that said, I want to move into the evaluation portion. And our first evaluator, who is evaluating Tricia's speech, right, okay, is Jian. Please welcome Jian to the stage.
So Tricia, for someone who only discovered your topic today, around in the afternoon, you did an excellent job. So, due to some technical difficulties, she didn't really get to discover her topic. But overall, you did an excellent job conveying the essence of leadership and the leadership style that you prefer and that you wish to see. I like to point out that the first thing that you did was putting your book down. I see that you brought up a book of all the notes that you probably want to say since you did prepare this, but you put it down, came up front, and spoke with confidence. However, with that, I would recommend using more movements. This whole time you just stay in one spot and use hand gestures. For your type of speech, I understand it's very hard to add movements for this like informative, like talking about yourself with leadership. But I feel like with transitions, you can talk about, this is my weakness, this is what I did, and then how I came up with your experience in leadership. I think the best part about your speech is that you identify the characteristics of leadership in yourself. You identify your weaknesses, how you want to improve those weaknesses, and you understand what you need to do in order to make that happen. So for example, you say you're a quiet person and that you're trying to learn how to grow. And that's important because as a leader, you have to know your own weaknesses before you can lead others. And I think that's an excellent way of coming in where you say you want to have those small moments with other people, interact with them, just to get to know them as a person without all that superfluous kind of fake interaction, but you want a meaningful one-on-one. And your reason for that is so you can better lead them. You understand how people are, and then you know what you can do to help them go for their goals. The next thing is that I really like your intro with leadership. At first I was wondering where you're going with that because I know the topic of your speech is to identify leaders as what kind of leadership you want to see in yourself. So when you talk about leadership and the experience, I thought that was pretty good, giving this background and introduction to others. And then you connect it with your the style, identifying, which I thought was very smart, taking a leadership assessment and then identifying those traits that you can connect with. And overall, I thought you did a really good job in just identifying the components of what makes a good leader, how you can improve on that. I think in the future you will make an auspicious leader.
Great job, Jian. You really showed a lot of strength with your evaluations. There are a lot of things that I really liked in your evaluation. I'll go over that after our second evaluator, who's going to be evaluating Sarena's speech, not Serena's speech in the UGA Toastmaster. FR's speech, totally blank. On the number 21. This is Scott's first time as an evaluator, so please welcome him to the stage.
I first want to say FR, I really enjoyed the hook, the number 21. A lot of people associate with certain numbers, and I think 21, especially for people our age, could be associated with our age and especially associated with just youth in general, and I think that that's a really cool number to start off things with. I wanted to say that I really enjoyed your use of numbers. The one thing that I would say just from looking at numbers is specifically with that, from what I've learned and from what I've observed is that when people give keynotes and when they give specific presentations, they focus on giving an example with one statistic. you mentioned that you put multiple numbers in a sentence, and I found that to be kind of confusing to follow along as just an audience member. I thought you did an excellent job connecting with the audience, either through your humor or your charm. I thought it was nice how when you said an example, you either smiled or you kind of like made a gesture with your face, and I really appreciated that because you were focused on kind of the general feeling of the room and kind of the atmosphere. What I noticed first when you began your speech was you had an excellent pace. As you progressed throughout the speech and you were kind of providing more examples and more sentences as it became more verbose, your pacing started to change and it started to suffer a little bit. I think that maybe if you paused during a few of your examples and added, I don't want to say more transition because you had transitions with your examples and slides, but maybe focus on either modifying it and figuring out your own style so that you either are not less reliant upon this and more reliant upon either structuring your examples differently or providing different either contrasting examples or contrasting ways of saying different things would provide more clarity. Overall, I thought the speech was very informative in terms of what you gave about goal setting and forming habits. I think it's important to note that you mentioned a lot of good things about what is critical for goal setting and what is not going to allow you to be successful at your goals, and kind of guide people through that process and provide some sort of insight and personal connection. I was looking as a speech, I was kind of looking for more personal examples. I couldn't really remember any personal examples from the speech. I don't want to seem too harsh, but I thought it was overall really good speech, and I thought that you were a really engaging speaker.
Scott, that was an amazing first evaluation. I really like that you brought out specific examples in your evaluation. So, timer, we're both evaluators in time.
Yes.
Can you take this time to fill out the best evaluator on your slide? Either F, not FR, totally blanking. Yi Jin or Scott. And while I'm doing that, I'll give the evaluation of the entire meeting. Scott, you did an amazing job pulling specific examples, both in strengths and weaknesses in FR speech, and giving advice on how he can improve. But I think if you would appear more auspicious, if you wouldn't stand back here for the majority of your evaluation. If you stand back here, you seem a little bit more nervous and afraid of the audience, just because you're standing as far away from them as possible. Instead, if you stood right here, you seem more confident, or even to this side or this side. You tended to stand here and kind of walk backwards and walk forwards. So making eye contact with every person, standing in more center stage, would come off as more confident in what your abilities are. But the information that you said was definitely helpful, not only to FR, but also to me, which I kind of suffer the same weaknesses and have the same strengths as FR. So I definitely applied that to my speaking style. Jin, you did an amazing job with your evaluation as always. You tend to have confidence on stage, and I really like that you brought out specific examples in Tricia's speech of what she did wrong and what she did right. I really like the fact that you brought out good and bad. Sometimes I tend to focus on things they need to improve on only, or things they did well on only, but I like that you had a good mix of both. And the fact that you gave examples of the good and the bad by mining it. Like you basically said you didn't move around, and while you were saying that you were moving around stage, or you said you only did hand motions while you were doing hand motions. I really like that. I like to include that in my evaluations. It was really good to see it in yours. I would encourage you as an evaluator, encourage everyone in Toastmasters, if you're an evaluator, try to not take up notes as an evaluator, just because we're not called like here as an evaluator just to give an evaluation. Honestly, we can write those evaluations down on a piece of paper and pass them over. The reason why we're up here is because we're trying to be better speakers. Every single opportunity you're up here is an opportunity to develop yourself as a speaker. Whether it's your speeches, whether it's table topics, whether it's evaluations, you will be called in the workforce to give evaluations of people. And you will come off so dramatically better if you come up here without any script and give an effective evaluation, and a detailed one at that. So having those specific details memorized and having a theme with your evaluation, all of a sudden you come off as a better evaluator in general, instead of a guy that's, I mean, I know whenever I come up with a piece of paper and an evaluation, I kind of look scatterbrained. Like I just wrote it down and I'm just reading off the bullet list, instead of having a firm understanding of what they did right and what they can improve on. But on to the next section, my evaluation of the meeting. Actually, let's get the reports out of the way first. So, can the off-crowner give the report?
I have done odd counting before, not at Toastmasters, but at another club. And I looked up how you're supposed to do Toastmasters, and it said if anyone was speaking ever at all. So I also recorded all the ums and ahs if you decided to just start shouting out things in the audience. I don't know if I was supposed to do that, so the numbers may be skewed, but...
How about, because it might take like literally 15 minutes.
I was just going to list the ums.
Okay, how about you just list the specific details for the speakers, and then give totals for everyone else.
I have not told them, but specific details for the speakers. So for speaker 1, Tricia Perez, you had 8 ums, so 2 likes, a but, and then some repeats of some words. So pretty good there. FR, you only had 2 ums, an so some likes, some buts. You used the word and over 10 times as a total. And then totals for
If you want me to come back to you.
somewhere in the 40s.
Okay. That's over the 40s. That's great. Well, thank you. I think everyone needs to improve on filler words. It's just the general thing. I know there's meetings where I'm at like 30 just on my own, and there's times where I'm at 0. So, concentrating on your speaking instead of just trying to get all the information out. But with that said, we can move on to the grammarian.
Yes. I think the thing that stood out most was choice of vocabulary. Obviously, a lot of people use their word of the day today, so that was very, very good. There were also some words that stuck out. There was benchmark at some point someone said, and just the way that they use it. I'm pretty sure it was Tricia's the word benchmark. At some point, it's kind of stood out like a very powerful word. So vocabulary overall, even in tabletop, is very good. And kind of just like always, and I just did this presentation as well. Our transitions are kind of focused on and, so, and like, with the most common thing. So we'll finish a sentence, and instead of stopping, taking a breath, or starting a new idea, we just lead into a new idea using the word so. Or we'll have long sentences that, when you're writing, it's very obvious when a sentence is very long, but when you're speaking, you won't catch on to it. You'll just be throwing in and to connect ideas when you should be thinking of other transitions. You can use words like aforementioned, stuff like that. Yeah.
Alright. Thanks for the reports. And on to my evaluation of the meeting. I really liked what you did with table topics, Nick. It was an interesting format, even though, in my opinion, I got the worst question, but whatever. The shower and...
They're not all the same.
I really wanted that. Actually, I want every single question except for mine. But that's usually the case. But I really liked the format and the way you introduced it with the red pill, blue pill. I think you could have done a little bit better linking that into the either or type thing, because I think FR was confused on what, was it you that was confused on like what's the link? But like try to link it a little bit better with the red pill, blue pill, maybe having like one side being red in the PowerPoint, one side being blue, so that it's like obvious.
Great.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm just throwing out ideas. I really liked everyone's participation in the table topics. I really think everyone's answer was